Well, welcome back to the Friday Council it's December 2022, episode 14.
Sick, good to be back.
Nice to be back. How's everyone going?
Nev's been on holiday.
Yep.
David's got wisdom teeth out, and I have done nothing.
Just the usual.
What have you been? Nothing. Just nothing.
Nothing.
Just grinding.
Being an economic beast.
Being an economic wage slave. Yeah.
Cog in the machine.
Yeah, I've just been being a cog in the machine, man. Enjoying it. I'm in the groove of things.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, David?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say.
Really?
I'll get to it. I was going to say, I don't like this time of the year because I feel like it throws me off that rhythm I guess I'm a sucker for just routine and this time of year makes me, I don't know what it is about it. Well, I get real like sentimental and nostalgia. You start like getting really like reflective. You're like, oh geez, like am I like, like where I should be in life and stuff. And then you just, I don't know, just make, I guess
Is it something about Christmas?
Yeah, it's something about it. I don't know what.
New Year's.
Yeah, the two of them that, I don't know, there's something about it that just, I don't like the feeling it makes. Yeah, I guess maybe there's something about it that makes me like miss being a child or something. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but yeah, I guess it just makes me, throws me off. I'm always very, it's the same, especially like on a New Year's Eve. Like, I get like super like, there's just something about it. It's like, geez, like, another year's gone. And
Yeah, I like New Year's Eve for that.
I don't like that feeling. I'm always happy like a few weeks past and like things are getting back to normal. People aren't on holiday anymore, and it's just like, for me, I guess I'm just a sucker for normality.
Just like the day-to-day routine.
Yeah, I guess
Christmas time. Yeah, like, everyone knows it's just busy.
Yeah, it feels like people are like, I don't know,
hyper vigilant as well. Like, everyone's stressing what to buy. All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't like I've never liked like useless cultural customs. It feels like Christmas is a whole lot of that. Everyone does like secret Santas that no one wants to do, and they expect you to be going to places.
There's part of it like holidays and stuff. It feels like you should be taking.
No one wants to do this. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it feels like you should be like stopping and being like going on a holiday or something and like spending all this, whereas I'm just saying I just want to carry on with life, and it feels like it's not right to do that. It's just something that feels weird.
Just an interesting thing, because obviously just been on holiday in the northern hemisphere, so winter time is a lot different for Christmas, and I found obviously just generally it's more festive. I don't know if that's just because of North America, but it kind of wasn't like an exciting thing. Whereas when you have Christmas here in the summertime, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know about your families, but we just do like a barbecue. It's pretty low key,
New Zealand,
chill. So it's kind of just like a day off.
Yeah.
Whereas there was like going through Christmas markets and seeing all the lights and stuff. It's like, man, this is actually kind of cool.
You got to hunker down. You got to physically like hunker down and a nice cozy, like by the fire.
Yeah, I think
that's so much more cozy.
I prefer it in Northern Hemisphere because I think, like in winter, people tend to like slow down and be like indoors and like not going out and about as much. Whereas here, it's kind of the opposite. Like everyone's like, let's go to like Kaiteri or like Nelson and like Queenstown, and it's like, I don't want to do that. I just want to carry on with life, but then I also feel like I'm missing out. I don't know. There's like I can't win.
Wintertime and cold time is more suited to be like reflective time, like being reflective and doing nothing. When it's so hot, you feel like you want to be like making the most of the day and doing stuff and not relaxing.
I feel like it feels like I should be like doing that, like getting out and about, but I don't want to. It's like I can't win. I want my cake and I want
1 week into December, still haven't gone for any walks or haven't played any disc golf or anything.
I was thinking about disc golf in my thing.
I think it actually it might distract quite considerably compared to North America, when there is so much stuff to do and you're like everyone's hunkered down with like I tried to make plans with someone just last week and he's like, I was like, sorry man, like Christmas I got shit to do on the weekend, and I'm like, fair enough, that's fine, I don't care, but it's such good weather, like it's perfect like time to be doing stuff, especially outside.
I'm free to do stuff. I'll make an effort to be more sociable. I was thinking about that when I was during my downtime. I was like, I was starting to get a bit of cabin fever. I was like, geez, like I'll make an effort to be a bit more sociable once I've recovered, which I pretty much have. So
It's your pre-New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Already done.
make a bit more socializing, not heaps, but a
Is
bit more.
that a thing? Do you guys do New Year's resolutions, or is there any like
I think
goal
they're super
setting or anything?
cringe. I think it's super cringe. Like,
That's
yeah,
fair.
it's,
It's your
like, it's
opinion.
one of those things
I agree.
because how many people make New Year's resolutions that don't stick? It's a classic case.
I think
of
it's
gym,
cringe.
right?
Go to the gym.
I think it's. I think it's.
month of January is packed. Month of
Yeah,
February is just dead.
Yeah, it's
I
like a
think-
flex as
and I
well.
think it's
Especially
an
if you're sharing
excuse.
it.
It's an excuse to delay. Like smoking's another common one. Oh yeah, I'm waiting for New Year's Eve. I know
Yeah.
someone who said that a lot.
That generic
every
thing.
New Year's Eve.
Why wait till Monday when you just start
exactly.
now?
So it's a
Yeah.
convenient excuse, and then also, it's a fad. Like, I'm sure there's obviously a small percentage of people who do end up sticking, and that's cool. But it's like, just start tomorrow if you've got something that's good enough.
Yeah,
to
maybe if you're
change.
like super autistic and it's like it's the start of a new year, so it's like a very clean break. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely an excuse. And there's a few things that I've, if I know something's bad for me, or if it's like my eating habits or something, or like watching certain content on the internet. And
What
I'm
sort
just,
of content?
yeah, exactly what you're thinking. I'm just like, no, I'm giving it up now. I'm not waiting till like a nice.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a super convenient excuse to put it off. It's a classic case of like tomorrow. What is it? Tomorrow is the something day of the week. Is a good quote. I can't think
That's
of
fair. I kind of agree with you both, but maybe it's slightly different. Was there a difference between New Year's resolutions and just general goal setting? Because I personally will write some goals for the next year. Not
I think
yeah,
it's
not
fair,
like I don't know. The example was to read like 12 books for the whole year.
Mhm.
I'm at 8. Probably not gonna make 12,
Oh,
but
and
hey,
that's
like
solid though,
that's
like,
fine.
yeah.
Or just
Perfection is the enemy
certain
of progress.
things you just like, because you kind of need to track it, otherwise before you know it, it'll be the end of 2023 and like you're saying, you get reflective.
I think
Have I done enough?
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. I think, the idea that like you're going to change something immediately on the next day of the year is super cringe. But the idea of like, I want to achieve this, and then like, you don't have to like nail it if you just make, like progress towards like certain, I think that's completely reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a goal or something in mind, else like your successes or reading 12 books isn't just going to happen, fall out of the sky,
No,
Yeah,
but
you're
still,
gonna
like,
have to aim
maybe
for it.
like making reading 8, like that's solid. Like, you don't have to be perfect, right?
Mm.
Like, so I think having general goals and something to work towards, cool. Again, you can do that any time of the year, but there's nothing wrong with you say like fresh start. I just think the idea that like I'm going to be a brand new person on January the 1st.
It's probably quite good though, because you grow up and it's on a whole societal level, it's like that the New Year's is meant for like new beginnings, and it's like it automatically makes everyone think about what they want and their goals.
I
So
think
it's probably better to have that like all the time, not just one day a year.
I think
but
I could have sort of had that thought earlier today. I was thinking like maybe I'd feel better if we didn't like restart the year every year. If we just went on a whatever, we just kept going rather than 365 days. We
like
just
day 2 million.
we just like went on a continuum. I was like, and then maybe I wouldn't like get that feeling like where you're looking back and looking forward and you're like, geez, did I do enough? And now what do I have to do? And then if you're just on a continuum, it's like not like this brand new cycle. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do think any personal change as well it's gonna be instant. Like a lot of the wise dudes like Krishnamurti, if anyone's ever heard of him, he talks about like if you're gonna make change, or if you're gonna become like enlightened, it's gonna happen like immediately. It's gonna be like a decision that happens like now, like right now in this moment. And I think that's the way to go for like goal setting. You do it right now. Like
I think it can. I've read stuff that says the opposite of that as well. Start small because, like, if you try and change your whole life in a day, like you're gonna get overwhelmed and fail. So, like, start with like a couple of small things and build. I think for different people, different things work. For some people, radical.
It depends
change.
if it's like I'm talking about like if it's like a mind, like reading a book. You can't obviously read 12 books right now, but if it's like a attitude thing where it's like I'm not gonna eat a certain amount of food, or I'm not gonna watch so and so content, I'm not gonna, you can do that. Something that can be done. That's the change inside you. There's no point in waiting for some future. Like that's a classic. I'll do it when the time is right, and they're just putting the new year as an arbitrary time is right.
Yeah.
But we can all relate to like, I really need to do something, like I need to tell this person this thing, but I'll wait till the time's right. And it genuinely never will be.
Yeah.
I never feel like it.
Oh, it's so hard. It's really difficult just to start with something though. Like I probably name countless things that I don't know, if just in the shower or something, I'm thinking, okay, this is something I really want to achieve. I've got to work towards it. So I do this, I've got to do this and this. And then you just like, it's like you're looking for everything to fall in line before even starting. Cause like if it doesn't work out this way, well, you might fail, but you just need to start. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You need to embrace failing.
Yeah, like for some things, like rather than if you're like not reading it all at the moment, rather than saying, I'm going to read 12 books in a year, I'm going to read 1 page a day. And then, you start small and get on it. But I understand that point you're making as well. Like, that sort of mindset change. But I think you also have to embrace that you'll have setbacks on your journey. You're probably not going to become the perfect, whatever, if you're like an alcoholic, and you're probably going to relapse. So like, that's okay. Like then get back on the wagon, or is it on the wagon? Off the wagon?
Just recognize it and move on. But it's like,
don't be like, oh, I've failed, so now I'm just going to drink all the time again. Be like, no, I slipped up. I got drunk one night, but tomorrow I'm back sober. Rather than saying it's game over.
You got to be kind with yourself,
which is super hard.
That's a good point.
And your brain. I was going to say, well, that's like the generic meditation advice is when you like notice your mind straying, which is equivalent of going back to drinking, after sobriety. You're just like supposed to recognize, you don't get frustrated and like try and control it even more. You just like kindly and lovingly like bring it back to nothing, to thinking about nothing. Being kind to yourself. There's something else I was going to say, but anyway.
That's fine. I think you're right though. It is kind of hard to be kind to yourself because I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's not, but there's always that internal voice inside that's like stopping you from doing something. It's like a constant day-to-day battle. And how do you improve? Like if you've got this voice that keeps like, what's the point of starting? Or like say if you've set a goal, I want to lose weight or whatever, it's like, well, you're going to eat, like if you can't eat bad food, so you're going to eat bad food anyway, or just things like that bring you down. So like, what would you say would be a good way to like be kind to yourself, or what's practical ways to do that?
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm trying to think how to do it, because I'm kind to myself.
I'm not.
Okay.
Well, I read it somewhere and it made sense, but it's always one of those things you're like, that's a good point, and you never actually like change. But it's like, like treat yourself like the way that you treat others. Obviously, if you treat other people like shit, that doesn't apply. But like, if you think about it, like if someone was struggling, you're probably not going to be like, geez, you're such a fucking failure. But that's the way I talk to myself. Yeah. So it's like, that's a great point. Like, like if I saw someone struggling, like I'd be reasonably compassionate with them. Like, I should be that way with myself, but instinctively I'm not. I'm like, geez, you're such a fuck up.
It's like just like generally keeping conscious, I think helps, because you can like split I've mentioned it before, when there's a bad habit comes in and you feel the habit, if you can I like to like identify the habit as like a demon or like an individual thing, then I'm like, oh no, like talking to yourself as well in your head, you'd be like, no, and you like try to recognize it. It's probably might not be healthy, might be a spiritual bypass, but like recognizing it as not me, like not my true self, what I want to be. I'm like, this is something else, like, and it's easier to fight against when you're like,
I think it's reasonable
when you think about it as a separate like devil entity.
I think it's the same as like I've read that your thoughts aren't true. Like you think your thoughts are true, but they're not. Like they're just thoughts. So like your thoughts can be like wildly irrational. Some of them will be good and some of them will be objectively true, like water is wet. but other thoughts, you'll have wildly irrational thoughts. So like, but we tend to take our thoughts as, or like interpret them as gospel, but they're not. They can be wildly irrational.
When you were talking about from your trip away, it was like obvious, like overt mental illness and homelessness in a bigger city, basically.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, it probably was.
Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah. And you mentioned like we can all relate to some crazy person, crazy maybe in quotes, talking to themselves out loud. But
Kanye West.
yeah. But when you think like, I often think about it, I'm like, yeah, we all have a voice in our head, and often the stuff they're saying is not like super crazy sometimes. It's like they'll be going over like an argument or something. They'll be like, oh, I can't believe she said, and then I was like, and you do that in your own head, and the only difference is we're just maybe aware enough to keep it. Because when you're on your own, maybe I don't know about you guys, you might talk to yourself out loud a bit more.
Well, not personally.
Not personally?
Talk to myself in my head, but not out loud. It doesn't manifest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just conscious of that.
Yeah. But people think that someone's straight up batshit crazy, and it's possible that that line between like talking to yourself, like when people first started to read books and the general public were being taught to read in like medieval times, I think, no one read it in their heads. It was all reading was supposed to be done out loud. And it was always done out loud. Only until maybe that's the day I'm thinking of, like medieval times when people started to read.
Apparently that's also a good way to just retain information is by reading out loud.
Yeah.
But there's not only that, I think maybe as well, just maybe being amplified in a big city, but there were people there that were just in like a shop and you're just shopping or looking around and then you just hear someone like barking off at the, like
literally barking, like dog barking?
Not but dog barking, but like
I do that sometimes.
Complain to the like there's one it's maybe it's silly, but there's one lady, she's I don't know, quote crazy, buying coffee at the coffee shop, and she asked for like one of those cardboard things because it was too hot, and so the person gave it to her, and then she started barking off at this the worker because she didn't put it on for her. She's like, that's your job, you're the one who's supposed to be doing this, why am I doing this myself? And I'm just thinking, like, what the heck? Just so
you're describing that could just be a Karen, like I considered saying Karen.
No,
but the different,
I think it's
maybe situational.
I weren't there, so I'm visualizing.
I'm visualizing a Karen.
I'm visualizing like someone.
But you can tell when someone's more skitzed out than a Karen.
I think like that you see that sort of behavior as someone who's like deeply unhappy, and so that manifests in shitting on other people, small things set them off. Whereas I mean I wasn't there. So
it's fair.
But I think
it's probably a situational thing too.
Yeah, like I've seen. The dude, was he? I don't know. Maybe it was with you. I don't know. I don't think he's like famous. There was a dude at Riccarton one time, Riccarton Mall, and he was like off his head. He's like, he was saying, this is years ago. He was saying, like some wild shit. Like I can't even remember, but like, he was in a completely different universe. I think maybe, like that line when it comes to like craziness is, I think I've read it somewhere, like, if you think you're crazy, you're not crazy. So I think it's like, might be a self-awareness thing. Like, like crazy people don't realize they're crazy. If you think you're crazy, you're almost certainly not crazy because you're like, there's some level of like self-awareness, consciousness. And crazy people think they're sane. Like that's the problem, is they think they're like normal, but they're to someone on the outside.
There's no self-consciousness. And I suppose if we all had no self-consciousness, or that just that trait was diminished, we would be talking out loud as well. I think. The only reason I really think to not do it is because other people will think you're weird. There's no real downside to it. Like you said, if you're trying to learn something, and especially if you're going through like a lot of crazy people seem to do when they're talking about like reliving an argument, and then she said, and then I said blah 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 out loud. Maybe that is they do it because it helps them process it better. As you,
There's another thought. It's maybe slightly side tangent, but it's kind of like if, for example, if someone was vlogging themselves from the outside, you might see someone like holding a camera, like, and say like, "What this loser up to?" But really, it's like, no, they're actually doing something with themselves, or they're trying something new, or whatever. They're putting themselves out there. Maybe it's just an internal thing. I'd be too afraid to do that myself, so I start shitting on them. But maybe they actually got it all together.
Yeah. That's good. That's good reflection, actually, because it's real easy to make fun of them, make fun of people doing that.
Yeah, I think it's just good to be conscious of as well, just of yourself and your habits and things like you don't want to fall in yourself. So, like an example, on the plane back, the guy I was in the aisle seat, the guy on the opposite side of me, his movie screen or whatever at the back of the seat wasn't working. So he called the attendant, like, why is my screen not working? I paid for this. So it should be. The lady's like, yeah, it's okay. I will restart it for you once we take off. Like, calls again. Oh, why is this not working? It's like, yes, we're in the air now. I will restart it for you. So she restarts the screen. It goes blank. He's like, oh, well, it's not working now. It's like, just that made me conscious of like, just habits and stuff. Like, I'd hate to be like that when I'm older.
Yeah. There's teachers all around, eh?
Yeah,
all
just being like aware of just certain things and the day to day.
Yeah,
it helps you like perspective on your own life.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's a good way to probably see a lot of things. Any hardships on you as well.
Yeah,
if you can see them as lessons. Yeah, maybe back to how you be kind to yourself. Yeah, if you can I think you can get through it like with like intelligence and cognizance. You can learn, you can rationally explain why failing is actually a good thing, and you don't really have to explain it, but failing, you've learned how not to do something, so it's a good thing. So even just that simple fact, you can be, whenever you fail at something, it's a good thing. You'd be like, oh, sweet, at least the good thing is recognizing it, actually, not the failure.
I think it
As long
reminds
as
me
you learn
of
from it.
two quotes. I don't know if this might just paraphrasing. I think one of them might have been Chamath Palihapitiya.
Oh yeah, I know that man. Yeah. Never heard it spoken out loud.
Ex Facebook. I can't remember exactly what his role was, but it was more like I think realizing the better you, or the faster you realize failure, like the better you'll become, because like if you recognize failure early, then you probably form that habit of improvement, like getting back up. Whereas if you were to experience failure like later in life, you might start to be a thing like, oh, now like time's finite. I'm not going to take any more risks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other one was that I think the Chinese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8 or something. Yeah.
Nice.
So maybe just recognizing failures as going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, that's why I enjoy doing this podcast, because it's like, it has the potential at least to be a form of failure, because everything we're saying is recorded and going to everyone else, and we can say things, no doubt we have already said things that we've changed our minds on, which you consider a failure by saying something that wasn't actually true.
Yeah, I think that's actually an interesting point. I think that's where a lot of people get that wrong, is when someone overtly changes their mind, people try and trip them up on it. Like, oh, but you used to say this. And it's like, you can evolve, right? That's probably a bad thing if you still hold the exact same views that you held 10 years ago. So that's an interesting one. People don't like that. It's especially like common with like politics and stuff. It's like, but your party did this like 5 or 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago. It's like, well, yeah, they were different people. In the case of politics, it might even be different people, but they view it as like same party. So it's like, you're responsible for what happened 20 years ago. Yeah. And another one is common is obviously when people do something like shitty when they're a teenager, and then like it comes out 20 years later, and it's like, well,
Sam Uffendale.
Yeah, it's like, and obviously, like some of these things can get complicated. Like if you did something criminal and you weren't prosecuted at the time, but let's say it's a little bit less serious than that. You just said something like really stupid, like something racist or sexist. And yeah, you're a moron, and you can see that you're a moron. It's like, yeah, as long as you're not that person 20 years later, you probably shouldn't be held to like, once a racist, always a racist, a classic quote that gets thrown around. And it's like, no, people can actually change. Some people don't, but
that's the danger of being so online at such a young age for all the kids now. They're going to get screwed, man. No doubt they have some retarded opinions, as we all did.
I think, we all did. Like, and you see that with, like, obviously, like when we were growing up, like what was acceptable in terms of like comedy is vastly different today. Like there's words that are quite taboo now. One that refers to homosexuality, that was a common word that we used to throw around. You really don't hear that word thrown around that often anymore.
I think everyone's that's a different thing.
Yeah, there's other like various things like that. Like it was a very different time. Like you said those things as like in passing, like you didn't actually mean them in a super derogatory way.
I think that it's all top down though. I think most people that I come across are completely fine with still the same humor. It's like a really forced like growth, like spiritual growth. Like they're saying, like, this isn't a morally like a forced moral growth, like being overlaid, and it just doesn't work. Like I don't know anyone who's genuinely racist these days, but that word is thrown around so much.
I do tend to cringe when I hear like people who make, and I did this when I was a teenager, made racist jokes. Now that doesn't mean that person's actually racist, but if they're still making racist jokes at 28 years old, like, come on, man. Like, you probably shouldn't be making that joke about, like, black people, why are they good at basketball. Like, it's not cool to be making that joke at 28.
You know that what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like, again, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, you're like a racist cancer. I can be a bit more objective than that. But, like, you probably shouldn't be making those jokes. I think you should probably grow out of making jokes like that. Because, it's just immature.
Well, and that'll be organic as well. They'll get the feedback from people their own age who have that reaction like you did and be like, okay, it's not really like getting me any social status or like giving me the yucks it used to, so I'll move on.
I think maybe it's just a like comedy thing, because comedy kind of has like a hall pass sort of thing. Like if it's said in the name of comedy, you can kind of push the boundaries and push the lines, and sometimes it's, I don't know if just the past few years, decade has just found like life has become more politically correct just in society. And so like people still hold like certain ideas or, I say humor, like find things funny, which they, in today's world, maybe it's not so good to have that thought.
Like there were things that, well, I'll say openly admit, I said myself when I was a stupid teenager, and other people certainly said, well, you weren't doing it from like a place of vengeance or like hatred. Yeah. But you said things which I understand how, I guess is what would be called casual racism, where you make jokes like like stereotypes. And people do it about white people as well. And people do it about any stereotypes, ginger hair, whatever it is. And it's like, I can see how that can fuck with people. So it's like, if you're still,
it's like calling things gay was the big one.
Yeah, that was certainly.
And you can obviously see
you can see how if you were gay, and like that, it
implies something negative.
You might not then overtly be like, oh, I'm so offended, but that might just eat away at you. Yeah, and there's certainly other ones like racial stereotypes that, looking back, were pretty bad. I'm not going to say it on here, but there's one of it to do with a certain type of shower that was.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, that's pretty fucking bad. That's actually pretty bad. I could see how that could, like eat away at someone's confidence.
I think that might be why a good reason to. We've talked about the value of acting like being childlike and almost being like living a life a bit more silly. Like skipping around and not caring. But you said like comedy gets a free pass almost. Maybe that's why I live my life permanently silly and stupid, because it's an alibi if I ever say anything.
No, I don't know if you've watched any comedy movies recently, but some of the older comedy movies, like late 2000s, early 2010s. Yeah, those sort of movies like Superbad.
Super sexist.
I don't know.
I still
Hot Tub Time. Just like that sort of era of comedy was just so... I found it like awesome to watch, but you just don't find this comedy movies.
It's tough. Another one was I was just watching this. I sent the link to one of them, Pulp Sport. You remember that on TV here? Yeah. There was a segment on that called Bloody Asian Driver.
I'm already laughing.
Yeah, it is funny, but it's one of those things. It's a tough one. So in it, it's a driver as in he's got a golf club
Mm-hmm.
and he goes and like hits a golf ball and play like in a public toilet, like into the urinal. But it's a play on that stereotype of bloody Asian driver, as in Asians are bad drivers. And I remember there was a segment on Moon TV that was very similar, where it was like a car crash. Obviously, this is stage, but the like white person was clearly at fault, but then he's playing the role of a cop and he's just putting it all on the Asian. Clearly it was like, And it's like, man, like, it's tough one. Like, there is comedy to that, but then there is racial stereotypes.
It's real hard to tell as well if you're like feeling sensitive about it because you know yourself morally wrong, or if that moral feeling has been like implanted. And I feel like more and more it's just being top down, like pushed
that
on.
Balance between like, are they, you're borderlining on offending someone, or are they just overtly becoming too offended themselves?
It's super tough. But say like I myself personally, I think I have fairly thick skin, so like nothing you can say to me will offend me, but not everyone's that way. And you can be the freaking man up or harden up or whatever, you get
Eat some concrete,
you can be that, but then I don't know, it's super tough. But like I would happily, like, you can make jokes about like white people. Like, I'll laugh at them. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's probably some good.
I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but I really genuinely think our age, maybe and a bit older, hit the real sweet spot of the online gaming with the with voice chat. You can see these days they're trying to they pulling back the voice chat, particularly with the opposition teams in the newer games, and just like fond memories of. Anyone our age will relate, like Call of Duty lobbies, where it's like straight abuse,
crazy,
real racist.
I saw a funny meme with that like recently. Actually, no, it wasn't a meme. It was some dude who posted on Reddit. He's like, I took my PlayStation off my son because he's posted a screenshot of their like usernames, and it's all like like real like
Hitler did nothing wrong.
Like shit like that. Yeah, people like, this is straight out of like 2008, and it's like it's so true. Like,
I don't know. Does that mean?
I used to have Adobe Hitler as a username. I used to have Adobe Hitler.
That's what you did, but also like if that was so bad, wouldn't there be like a cohort, like an age bracket coming up now that are like our group that are like racist and like homophobic? But you don't really. I don't think that you see that, and that and that was all we did, and just absolute trash talking. And I brought it up because I think it was actually like a real important training lesson in disguise. Now I only kind of realized it after I started dating my partner, and we'd play like online games, League of Legends. It was just chat. It was just typed. It wasn't audio chat.
Yeah.
And it really affected her, and I didn't even click. I've been so long since I'd even took what someone had said to me on an online game to heart, if ever, that I was like, oh yeah, like I have a real thick skin for anything online because it's a complete stranger, but it genuinely affected her as if someone had said it to her face.
I'm the same.
I was like,
I have very thick skin, but I think you have to appreciate that not everyone does. So then you can't like force your worldview upon them. I think you need to respect. Oh no, I mean some of the stuff is getting silly, like people taking offense to like really, really minor things that. But like if we're talking about something like that does have some level of offense, and it does, like Hitler did nothing wrong or something like that, that's not going to offend me. But you have to appreciate that to someone that may, and I think you kind of have to respect that because I think
of an example we used to throw around like your mum jokes, and then every now and again there might be someone who's
dead,
you're like
that's funny. Their
mum's done. Like it's like it's kind of
I don't know why it's funny, but it just is funny.
Yeah, I think
might be wrong. We might be wrong.
Your
laughing,
mum
but
is
we laugh.
probably on the very low end of the scale, but I get it. Yeah. And I think we probably even like you have to be careful. I've heard you throw it around like autist and stuff like that. You like, man, they're kind of
I throw it around, but I actually mean it as
I know. And again, it doesn't offend me, but I can appreciate to some people that could be a touchy subject. You see that I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I don't give a fuck. Like I can read like comments about like I remember.
What are some slurs for ADHD? People with ADHD, tweaker.
Maybe.
I don't know of any.
But,
you would have thought there'd be some.
Yeah, like nothing's gonna offend me. Like, but yeah,
Should we
for
try
someone
it?
else.
Yeah.
Start a challenge. Let's try and offend
Just try and
David.
destroy each other.
Yeah, I was
emotionally.
gonna say, or it was like when your brother brought it up in regards to that murderer dude in the USA. It was something to do with murder, and he's like, he had ADHD. And it's like, bro, I've got ADHD. And like to someone else, that might have been offensive. Oh, so you're implying that everyone with ADHD is like psycho freaking stabbers or whatever the hell it was? And it's like, to me, it's like, it doesn't bother me, but yeah, to someone else that may ruin their day.
Yeah.
And and it's tempting to be like, oh, why can't they just be like me and just realize that they didn't mean it? But yeah, we're all different, eh?
And it's hard. Like, if I were to be offended, how hard would it be for me to tell that person, look, what you've said is actually us? Probably pretty difficult. Like, you'd walk away from them, like, man, why like that? Why did they say that? Oh man, what an asshole! Like. But if we could easily vocalize, like, okay, maybe that was a step too far.
Yeah,
I'm sure the other person, like, if they're a dick, they would just keep going off. But if they're like, oh man, like, I'm sorry, I didn't actually mean to do that.
yeah,
Cut it there. That's where the line ends. But look, it's just a boys thing. But there's always, with your mates, there's always that like locker room chat.
yeah. And I think there's
The
something
group chat.
to that. I think that's the key, is that there's some context that comes into play here. So like, yeah, some things. It's a classic case of like, we're all two-faced, right? In fact, we're like multiple faced. Like, we're not going to say the same shit we're talking about here to our parents. We're not going to talk in the same way, and yeah. So like,
that's where the internet comes into play, because
Yeah.
you're putting it out to everyone, no matter what. It's indiscriminate.
yeah, I think
And
if
for comedians.
yeah, the context and setting is very important. So like
Yeah.
some things, yeah, and some people hate this idea of like locker room talk or whatnot. But I guess as we all understand as boys, like there's just something that we innately understand about it. Like it's shit talking, like, oh bro, did you root her, and like all the bullshit, like counts of how many people we've had sex with and stuff like that. All bullshit. But there's like something, I guess, cathartic about it as a male, that crap talking, yeah, whatever it is, testosterone fueled shit talking.
Throwing your weight around.
Yeah, and then I guess it's careful that as long as you know you're in an environment where that's acceptable, that's okay, but then don't take that to another environment where people don't appreciate that.
It can actually be quite creative as well. I know there's like, it can be easy to stoop to like what is probably like kind of a low level of comedy when you go and, well, it doesn't, not necessarily actually. Yeah, it can be quite creative actually, and especially when you're around with your friends, that locker room chat can sometimes be really creative. You're almost bouncing ideas off each other, but it's like based in something, in some sexism or something. It can be hilarious and creative.
It's crazy, yeah. Like thinking about, I guess as we're older, it's nowhere near as sort of derogatory as it once was. But
what is?
Like locker room talk. Like when you're like 16 to 18, that's like peak of, as I say, like there's always this crap, bro, did your finger hit? No, and it's like, it's terrible. It's
Dude,
terrible. But
I can honestly say I missed that day. I was I was not confident enough to be chatting that level of shit.
Bro, did you
Mine was more race.
time
Mine
just-
was rate. Like
Did you,
I didn't. Yeah.
did you smash a box?
Yeah.
That was one they got through. I don't remember
Rough.
what. Yeah, I probably shouldn't mention the name, but there was a girl that I knew in high school who had quite a. Her surname was a bit close to like the act of something with the mouth, and anyway,
Was it Gabby?
Oh, close.
close.
Yeah.
Anyway, point being, it's like, yeah, people would throw that at me. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
and you see, that's maybe okay if you're with the boys, but you probably shouldn't say that to her.
Yeah, you
because
wouldn't
that
say
might
it, yeah,
really
100%.
offend her. Or if you know that it doesn't offend her, like she's made the joke herself, then that's cool. But like, you probably shouldn't like say that to her without knowing that it's okay. Like people, that's actually a great example. Like my name, Pet Tit, right? How many jokes have I had about my name? But I don't give a fuck. So it's okay if you make jokes about my name, Petit, Petite, all sorts of names.
You'd have to be pretty fragile for that to affect you in any way.
I guess.
But when you're a teenager as well, you are like quite fragile.
Yeah. So,
socially,
as I say, everyone's different. And as I say, if it did offend me, like, you probably should respect that as that doesn't. So it's fine if you make jokes, but yeah, for someone else that might really, upset them, and even though you're like, bro, but like it wouldn't offend me. You just have to kind of accept, like, everyone's different.
That is an autist way of thinking.
Like there's that borderline because I don't know if should you be enjoying it if it's bad, but equally in the context of it.
I think, as I say, context is so important because there's something about again, it's something associated with young males like hazing and whatnot. Like there can be something like almost enjoyable about that when you're on the receiving end of it. Like, as long as it doesn't go too far, like being, because I don't know if it's like a feeling of like belonging or something, or even just like attention. You're getting attention, even though it's like a kind of negative form of attention. It's attention. I don't know. What
kind of makes me think of what is it, that week in the army? That is the first. I can't remember what it's called. But where like the officers or whatever will like haze you,
it's like
yell crap at you, like you're not good enough, like calling you, call your names and stuff. But generally at the end of it,
you become a brother.
like you're part of
the pack.
The pack. It's like
it's to like break you down and restart you as a person, isn't it?
Yeah, and like we're talking about it like that, it sounds toxic, but just one of those things. I think unless you've
it's probably a socialization thing. Like a natural socialization thing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but unless you've... And I think it's very much a boy thing, because I don't think it works that way for girls.
Well, girls are known for gossip.
Yeah, and I think, like, from what I've read, like, when stuff like that happens with girls, it gets real toxic.
Yeah,
well, it's because gossip is based in reality.
And, like, it doesn't seem to stop with females, from what I understand. Like, boys, I guess, they do it for a bit, and then they ease off. I think with females, from what I've read, like it seems to like it carries on. Like they go home and they do it on Facebook, do it on the internet, social media, whatever, and it's a unrelenting. And I mean I can't comment because I'm not a female, but that's what I've heard with like things like that seem to I guess boys just kind of we've given him enough shit. He's one of the boys now, but with girls it becomes like this. Fucking, I don't know. Maybe
confusing.
I don't know.
Of the girls.
I can only speak from a male perspective, and
I think it's best. I think it's just best to err on the side of the least self-censoring way of living your life in terms of jokes, especially.
I think
no one's ever come out to me, and
I think
at a certain point as well. Is it bad to be thinking about just like the net good that all those like harsh jokes, the harsher jokes get the better reaction. So is it bad of me to be thinking like that in terms of that? Like this has been a net positive in my life with my friends. Like we've had good, it's made for good laughs and
I think that, and this is the opposite probably of autism.
I'm conflicted about it.
I think it's knowing again the context and the setting. So don't censor yourself if you're around people that are comfortable with you and you're comfortable with them. But you're probably not going to go into like a retirement village and like spout off some of the shit that we're spouting off once the microphones go off here, right? So there's something about that's an intelligence or whatever wisdom thing, knowing that certain places,
and it's like what you said about being more than just two-faced, being multi-faced.
We're all
multi-faced, and
like
I think
my parents and probably your parents too hate the C word, right?
Yeah,
that to them is like a super. I've had a comment like my dad's like in denial about it. I'm like, I can't remember how it came on conversation, but I was like, it's a common word now, like in New Zealand and Australia anyway. It's like a super. No, probably it's more not, in Australia. It's not. And then like my brother's partner backed me up on it. She's like, I don't like the word, but he's right. Like it's a very common word in New Zealand culture now, and maybe more so, but it's still very common here, especially as a boy.
I wonder what the strong reaction is. I wonder if it's like some form of moral superiority, being like, I don't use that word because I'm better.
I don't know what it is, but like, so I'm not gonna then try and drive again as knowing, okay, they don't appreciate that word, so I'm not going to be using that word around them. Like respect. Again, it's tempting to be like, why is he so bothered by it? Like, doesn't he understand? It can be used as as a term of endearment, even.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's not the way that they receive it.
Like the
Yeah,
lads, whatever. It's like you're a sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
sick or you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's another one I think is my dad has used before, calling like someone of color.
Yeah.
I would say quote like Negro, because once upon a time that word was
It
used.
still does in Spanish,
it's still
right?
yeah, it's still Spanish, means like black, but whenever it's brought up, and he's not the only one I've heard say. I think it maybe have just be like that 50s and 60s like born generation boomer, where they will say it in thing, and then generally the younger people are like, no, like you can't say that, it's a bad word. But like realizing why maybe that's just because I understand the context of it,
Yeah.
and I know he doesn't mean malice behind it.
But I think that's where it's important to have that self-awareness that words' meanings do change. So Negro in 1950 may have been an acceptable word. It's not really an acceptable word anymore. So you kind of got to move with the times and accept that words change. Not, back in my day, like...
I also reckon
don't want to be that person,
yeah,
right?
like you said, like the young people in that situation are like, no, you can't say that. I also think that I think it was Ted Kaczynski in one of his
Unabomber?
books. Yeah, he talking about the like over socialization, and where you like so essentially it's like when you're so socialized that you lose your own identity, and it's real bad for your mental health. Basically, you have no like you have no like certainty in yourself and don't back yourself, and you're like basically just flowing in the wind, trying to mold to everyone else, and it's not good for your own mental health. And I think there's a bit of that involved in the censoring of
for sure
comedy as well.
And I think it just comes back to, again, you just have to find a group of people that you're comfortable with, they're comfortable with you, and I think like that's the best. Like, this is a super great environment. I think we all enjoy it. We all feel very comfortable. We're not worried about offending or standing on each other's toes or anything like that. So it's a great environment to be in. So for sure, there's some truth to that, but yeah, I think it's just finding the right group of people that you have chemistry with. That's a good way of putting it, I think.
Yeah,
because I
was also thinking when you were talking about your parents using the C word, not liking the C word, and so you make a conscious effort to not use it around them. Is the onus also equally not on them to make an effort to be more understanding about it when they're around you? Because it seems like
I suppose you could argue that.
Yeah, but it seems like it's more in the favor of those being offended, not having to adjust their ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Look,
there's I guess there's some truth to that, but I think it's just I think it's a good characteristic to have, to be
it's polite,
sympathetic, and trust me, there's something that I've gotten way better at recently. I used to be that sort of, I don't know what traditional like manosphere view where my view, like fuck your view and fuck your feeling. Whereas now I think it's a good trait to have, where you can just be like, okay, I can respect that that's the way that they feel about the matter, so I'm not going to push the boundary. Yeah, you could argue like, why can't they see it from my perspective? But I think it's just a good characteristic to have personally, that if you can be like,
it's being balanced with a masculine and
is
feminine.
it maybe the age we're in was, like being sort of that millennial-ish age where you're kind of more likely to realize the older generation are less likely to change. So I'd say we're still kind of malleable in a way, like as things progress.
Just
like,
at the end of it.
Like things progress in time. It's like, well, we still form opinions, but more open to like progressive ideas.
Yeah.
Whereas for them, it's like, well, coming to the end of age, their age.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're probably more set in their ways. It's like it's probably a hill they're going to die on.
Yeah.
As opposed to like opening up and
also there might be some wisdom.
Though.
There might be some wisdom as well. We throw away like our old people, but there's something you can never Google is wisdom, and that's pretty much the last thing they have, because their knowledge is like Google is obviously a better resource than old people for knowledge, but wisdom is different, and there might be also be an element of just them realizing that it's like not. It's not, they just don't care. That's like, it's not worth fighting over. If you're going to fight about it, you're wasting your life. Like, I didn't mean the word Negro in a negative way. Who cares? Like,
yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the the topics and words that are taboo. It's like it's not being said and with the intent to cause harm, and so like who cares? Let's move on. Like it's just a way to oftentimes to describe or get a point across.
Yeah.
Even if it is a joke, especially if it's a joke, actually. Yeah, care even less if it's intended to be a joke. But then, yeah, but you can lay out a joke with like an edge of truth, like, you know, you can say there might be something deep, very deep in you that is racist, and you can palm it off as with racist jokes, which I think is what people are concerned about and people get offended by. It's like I can't tell often if you have a like genuine ounce of malice in there.
Yeah.
A spite might be a little better word, yeah. But I should be like, bruh, do I look like I have malice in my heart?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where even if there's not malice, like you have to be careful. Like one of those stereotypes, like one of them, I think it's maybe phased out a bit. It's not something that I've heard, or with the exception of watching those pop sport videos, but the stereotype that Asians are bad drivers, women are bad drivers, that's another stereotype which I don't think those are like those are not good stereotypes, because yeah, you can make jokes about it and you might not have any malice, but then it becomes like so ingrained. Everybody's like, oh yeah, women are bad drivers, and like that, I don't think that's like a healthy thing, because like then you're subconsciously thinking that. Another
Possibly.
one,
I think you got to have more faith in humanity, man, to know, like for people to know, the masses to understand what's like a joke and what's not. Like that's the thing as well. I think with like the excuse for banning Andrew Tate, where it was like supposedly a threat and a concern for like young men. Like they were concerned he was going to make young men like abuse women. When I don't know, like if you're doing parenting right, you should be instilling better values than some guy on the internet can.
Yeah, you should, but that's also easier said than done. I mean, as we all know, like
parents.
we did we listen to our parents when we were 13? You know,
No, that's true.
but yeah, I think it's not. Yeah, it's not the joke itself. Like, yeah, that might be brushed off as a joke at the time, but then, as I say, it almost becomes like a subconscious thing where you instinctive. Another commonplace one is that you see someone wear, and whatever
turban.
Yeah, turban, and you're thinking,
Yeah.
and that's
The programming kicks in. It's like being
deeply programmed in us. Blame it on George Bush or something like that. Yeah, that we associate. Yeah, and then so it's you can rationally like, oh no, it's not. But then there's just a subconscious. So yeah, it's not a good place when people are subconsciously thinking things, even if they can be like, no, I know it's not true, but why am I even going straight to that?
That's a good point. Yeah, and most people aren't conscious enough or relaxed enough to notice that their mind pings to that and why it's pinging to that. But that's actually a really good point to bring in, that the subconscious and how powerful words are.
Yeah, and I felt super self-conscious when I was going through LAX because I have a big beard. I was thinking they're gonna think
terrorist.
So that was me being hyper self-conscious, and I guess no one actually thought that because I didn't get pulled up. Yeah. Although we did get asked for passport before we actually got, but that may.
It's standard procedure.
Yeah, I think generally people don't appreciate how powerful words are. And I suppose linking back again to the crazy people talking out loud, and like you said, the fact that reading something out loud also helps retaining information. Something about saying things out loud that is especially potent and powerful, and whether that's, you're saying it's anything you're vocalizing or even thinking, but vocalizing seems to be more powerful, whether it's a joke or whether it's like you're actually saying something with derision and malice, or if you're trying to learn something or process something yourself, as the crazy people seem to do. I don't think there's an appreciation for how powerful language is, spoken word is. And I don't know if it's coincidence, but I do like the point that it's called spelling for a reason, supposedly. Like casting spells, with the implication that it's casting spells. Don't know if that's the true etymology of the word spelling, but it's kind of fun,
Yeah.
magical,
Yeah.
fairy tale.
I don't think I've actually heard that before, but
No,
I
I've never heard that.
kind of.
If that's
makes
true, that's
sense.
big if true. If it comes from the term magical spell, like casting a spell, spelling.
Spelling. Nah, I don't
We'd
know.
have to fact check that.
Yeah,
because that's big if
It's
true.
probably something to check after the pod.
Yeah, and another point is actually I remember seeing a video of this. This is back. Was it 2008 or 2012 when Obama was running against McCain?
Obama.
and John McCain was addressing a crowd, and this, and I guess almost you feel sorry for her because she's sort of this, I don't know, gullible. She had some concern that like I think Obama was a terrorist or something because like there's all sorts of conspiracies.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar.
There's something where he's linked with a does he have like a sort of Arab sounding middle name or something? Hussein, yeah. So there was, I can't remember the exact words, but she was almost in tears because she genuinely believed it. She was like, Obama's like a terrorist or something. May not have been, it's paraphrasing. And John McCain was like, no, he's not. Like, I disagree with him on many things, but he's not a terrorist. But that's the thing. Some people are going to be gullible enough that they are, and I say that's where these things like women are bad drivers. There's going to be a portion of the population that sort of they actually do take that as gospel, and then they're going to hold that opinion. And I think we all probably have met someone like that. They're sort of, I've certainly met people that hold, fairly backwards views about things.
Well, I think we all do that to a certain extent.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I said, like the words are very powerful, and especially when they're on a screen, I feel like we glorify anything coming from a screen. And that used to be like a TV screen, or even before that, it used to probably be, TV screen.
Radio before that.
Radio, anything on a platform. And I find that I'm real conscious of that as well, even at like a local bar, like the Dark Room. Shout out again, second time I've shouted out the Dark Room. Love it. But like some random like Christchurch musician with like 50 likes or whatever, just the fact that they're on a stage singing, and then after the show they come down and chat to like they'll know a friend and get introduced. I feel that like I've just been glorifying them, and I get like almost flustered. The feeling of flusteredness comes up, and they're just like any one of us
person,
who have played music.
I think we're all certainly susceptible
We glorify
to
it.
that.
It
And
can be the same with like any celebrity.
I think,
Yeah.
if you imagine, like, if you saw someone, like, who's famous that you, like, completely, you didn't like their music, or if it's a politician, you had the complete opposite beliefs, you'd probably still be starstruck if you saw them out
You'd
in
want a
public.
photo,
Yeah,
no
you'd be
matter
like,
what.
oh, shit, Jacinda Ardern. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like anything you say, but... Wow.
Yeah.
You're a real person.
Nah,
that-
I'd be the one that would be like, "Why are you?"
yeah. At a nice dinner, she's having a nice dinner with her family.
No, actually, that kind of happened to me. What was the election when David Cunliffe was the leader? Was it 2017 or something? For
remember the name, don't
for,
remember.
for,
Have a
the,
look.
for the Labour Party. And I got a phone call, and I thought it was an automated message. But at first, it was like, "Hi, I'm David Cunliffe," and I actually thought it was him. And I was like, oh, "Whoa!" And then I realised, and I was like, "This is someone, as I say, doesn't strongly dislikes Labour's political views." But I was still like, "Oh, whoa!" But then, of course, it clicked that it was actually. But if it had been him, I still would have been like, "Wow, like, cool,
Yeah.
like, it's nice to."
Yeah. Well, even I'm just thinking
2014.
24
That makes you feel
throwback.
Gee.
Throwback.
Old
2017 was Ardern.
Right.
Old
Yeah,
Cunny
that's
Lingus.
right.
That's the king,
Wow.
the kingmaker.
That's not 6 years ago almost.
Yeah.
5, well, I guess just after 5 years. 2020.
I was thinking just in terms of like glorifying anyone on a stage or anything, right down to the level of like imagining a locker room chat with the guys when there's like going to be an
First
alpha
15.
or two, a clear alpha or two. Yeah, okay. First 15 example is going to be a captain. Just the captain's words are going to have more of an impact on you subconsciously.
Yeah, 100%.
Because well, even if you haven't glorified them, the school has, and the team as a whole has.
Yeah.
So
we're all, I think, and with the exception, I'm sure there'll be some people out there like, nah, like, super, whatever. They're like, nah, like,
unaffected by
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
And maybe
autists, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say
there's
that,
pros
but
and
then-
cons to it, and
But-
there's a lot of pros in this day and age to
I think
having autistic
the
tendencies.
average person, like,
Asperger's,
we're
maybe.
still very, I guess that's almost like a very animal, primitive behavior.
Yeah.
But we're all, still very susceptible.
Yeah.
The average person is still very
I'm
susceptible, including myself.
I'm sure there'll be something as primal and physiological as just looking upwards.
Drawn to someone who instills confidence in you.
Yeah.
Even if it's that's the thing. So many times it's complete BS, right? You look at all the like failed cults around the world. Their leader is instilling them with confidence. He's never showing any doubt, and so we're drawn to someone.
Trump,
but in so many cases, their message is complete BS, and they lead them. And like these suicide cults lead them to freaking kill themselves.
Yeah. Well,
it's like you got completely suckered.
Like the Don, man.
But-
Just never admit when you're wrong.
Yeah.
Just like blind confidence.
Yeah, and I get it, right?
And it works.
I get it.
It works.
It works.
It did work.
It does work. To an extent, it does work.
To an extent.
I think it
The
works
Don
until
is
it...
in the
Donald
Don.
Trump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works
Not
until
like
it doesn't.
Yeah.
The mafia. Don.
Yeah.
but- Yeah. They're probably the same,
Yeah,
though.
probably similar to be fair.
Yeah, and it's a gang leaders as a game. It's a sucker's game, right? You're gonna end up like doing the dirty work for this head honcho, but you can be sure that gang leader is 100% confident, never shows any self doubt. And there's something you're like, again, I'm exactly the same. Like I'm super drawn towards someone who portrays a confidence. Like, geez, I wish I could be like that. I have so much self doubt.
So you got to be aware, man. You got to stay conscious.
Yeah,
and
it's
then you
nearly
can
always
learn from it.
Yeah, I think it's nearly always a facade. Those people do, unless they're genuinely psychopaths, they do have self doubts. It's just that they don't show them to the world. And then I guess you have to be careful because you're like, man, I wish I could be like that. But it's like it's just a character essentially. Yeah.
They get home and then break down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I can't deal with the stress.
Yeah, how many times have we like seen or heard like stories of like someone who we see as like this super strong recent example might be like a guy like Michael. You probably won't never know, like Michael Hooper is the captain of the rugby Wallabies, and I don't think, and don't get me wrong, I don't think there's a bad thing, but like he recently took some time away, stood down from playing rugby and captaining the Wallabies because he was struggling mentally. And so the traditional way is like, oh, that's weakness, but and I guess you can argue that, but I think it's healthy, right, that you can see that these people, stoic leaders, do have those human emotions. And I see it like with people. You see so many people like of these like seemingly whatever super successful people, and then you look at their personal lives, it's a mess. They have like 5 wives, like not at one time, but like they've been through divorce. Like it's messy, man. They got kids of multiple, and I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but it's messy, like they go through shit, divorces are always messy. So like you like look, and it's like, damn, like he's had 5 wives,
and
like that's messy.
Equally as like it's a primal urge and it's uncontrollable when you're glorifying someone up on a stage or someone in a position of power. Equally, I think primally, if you see like that Wallabies coach example, him taking leave to struggling with mental health, as much as you can rationalize it, the other way, you take that as a sign of weakness.
Yeah, I know. You subconsciously,
yeah.
And
you've got to be,
I know
it's
super tough because there's that rational part is saying like I have those same self doubts.
Yeah,
but then there's part of you, it's just like, and I guess it is kind of toxic, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
like,
it seems way more spicy to say, but you're just inverting
It's like,
it.
well, yeah, you're looking at a point. It's like, wow, he's got like the coolest career. He's playing international rugby, he used to travel, he used to play. Like,
and it's more relevant, I think.
figure.
And if we're like talking about like a general or like a president, prime minister, and like in a wartime, and it's like those people have to be stoic, even if they have all sorts of. I mean, you can only imagine like Winston Churchill probably had all sorts of like self doubts going on, but he never showed that because there's no advantage to showing that.
Yeah. As much as you could rationally explain why that's reasonable.
Yeah. But to your enemies, and even to your followers, you're going to go, oh my God, like,
He's having doubts. I should
Yeah,
have doubts.
yeah, exactly. And so I was saying, and that's super relevant when you're like fighting for your country.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less relevant when you're talking about sports. But yeah, it's still that same.
Same
you
applies.
you're like, once you show that even though it shouldn't, it's healthy too. But yeah, it's like,
well, yeah, because we can all admit and relate that it works one way, which is like glorifying. So it wouldn't be surprising that it would work the other way as well.
Yeah,
When someone's
and, like,
showing weakness, you
there's
subconsciously think
times where I've been like so tempted to, I've been like, I feel like I'm on the verge of like breaking point about something. I'm like, I'm just gonna go talk to my parents about it, and like I probably should, but then I don't, and then I wake up the next day. And I'm like, I'm really glad. I'm really glad that I didn't talk to them about that, because like I've just
that's the
had a good sleep and
that's the manosphere point behind not like you shouldn't cry as a man.
it's super tough. It's like
that's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, it's like don't show weakness to your woman is what they would say,
it's so
because subconsciously it shows weakness to them.
It's super tough, because like there is an element where it's like that's a healthy thing to do, but then there is that primitive instinctive thing where
they
like,
they don't actually say they don't say don't cry. They'd say do it in front of like your other guys at worst, or just do it alone.
Yeah, and like
It does make sense.
Yeah, I know. It's super tough.
Yeah,
it's super tough. And I think that's one thing that sucks about being a man, is that it's a distinctly male problem. Females, don't get me wrong, there will be some females who have that issue, but relative to males, females can. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's not socially weird.
I think it's deeper than just socially
I think it's also
accepted.
hormonal too.
Yeah.
And there's something about it's normal for chicks to have a good old crying session with one another. It's cathartic, and it should be that way for males. But
it's still cathartic for males.
and it still is. But then there's something about, and like I actually read a good article, not exactly about that, but it was to do with male friendship, and it was talking about how like it ties in with that as well, and it said like as males get older, and again this is on average, it's not going to be the case for every male, but I can certainly personally relate. You like friendships peak in like early to whatever some time in childhood, and then they just drop off the older you get, and that's certainly been the case for me. Like I had heaps of friends at primary school, I had lots of friends at high school. Now I have very few friends.
I don't think, but it's not a bad thing, right?
It doesn't have to be bad, but they were. It does. I mean, it can be bad if you're lonely, and you're craving those social interactions. But at the root of it is that it is to do with like these deeply ingrained things. Men struggle to talk and bond the way that males do, and it said that gay men are way better at making friends because seemingly they're and maybe we shouldn't call it feminine, because maybe it should just be a human thing. But yes, females, at the moment females seem to be able to bond again on average far better than males can. And I was like, it's super relatable. So that's one thing that does suck. There are certainly disadvantages to being a man. That's one of them.
Damn.
That's one of them.
Straight white man.
Yeah, and you look
add that to the list of struggles.
You look at the.
You're right, though.
You look
You're
at
right.
Privilege.
You look at the stats. Who kills themselves the most? Middle-aged white men. And that's not to say that men of color don't have these same issues that we're talking about, but and it may be other issues that tie in for middle-aged white men. But and we'll just say even in just men lead suicide statistics. I think it's like 80% of suicides are men. That's like a probably worldwide average, but I think it's fairly true of every.
It's more than the base ratio.
50-50. So it's like clearly there's some disadvantages to being a man, or otherwise they wouldn't lead suicide statistics, would they?
Yeah. Don't really want to leave it on that note, but we're wrapping up.
Well, what are some of the advantages to being male? You don't have to give birth. I'm really glad that I don't have to give birth.
I would in a heartbeat. Honestly, I'd love to give birth. I would love it
on behalf of your partner.
100%.
I can't think of
I don't think I
anything
would.
worse
Really?
than the whole process of the morning sickness.
It's not for not everyone goes through that.
I guess not, but there's going to be aches and pains while you're pregnant, unless you're very lucky, you're probably going to have like, it's going to be a struggle. You're going to lose mobility and things like that. And you probably, and then the actual pain of giving birth, which everyone says is like 100 times worse than getting kicked in the nuts. So
I got hit in the nuts
yeah,
yesterday.
I know.
It was pretty bad.
So if that's true, that's insane. Even if it's not true, it's obviously very painful. And so I'm very glad.
I
Very
remember.
glad.
I remember when my Pokemon Blue on the game. My Game Boy crashed before I saved Pokemon Blue after like a 3-hour play sesh.
That would have sucked.
That was worse than childbirth.
I'm glad it's easier to urinate.
That's a good point.
You can just
No, that
pull
is
over
right.
on the side of the road.
My
You don't
wife
have
It's
said
to-
the
OP.
same thing to me. She's like,
It's OP.
You've got it so lucky.
Yeah.
Like when we were traveling, it's like we have to wait in line for cubicles. Like
Well, they
separate
don't
cubicles.
have
We don't
to.
have
yeah,
to.
but it's way
Well, I
more
mean, like,
convenient.
just in like a mall or something.
Yeah, I know.
Where it's
more
way easier for a
convenient.
guy. Where like you go, you just line up,
yeah.
take a piss, done, out of there.
Yeah,
I
and you
think-
can direct
and you
your
can-
fertilizer onto plants.
I think I think menstrual cycles would suck. I think nearly every woman would agree with that because it sounds like a lot of some women get them real bad, like cramps and stuff like that, and even nausea. Like that would fucking suck every month, like for like a week or so.
I
Like,
feel like I imagine it's like you're just like back to normal, and then it's like a month is about the right time then it starts again.
yeah,
That'd be so depressing.
there's certainly advantages to be
Advantages.
The advantages of being a man. But in saying that, I think, well, I don't know because I'm not a mum, but apparently the joy of that it
Yeah.
completely outweighs and trumps the whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Struggle
so.
gives you meaning. You know.
That's a good point. Maybe we should know on that.
But
Yeah.
I would say that I wouldn't change. Like I'm happy to be a man. I wouldn't change if I had the option of change. I don't mean like transitioning. I mean if I could be reborn as a female, I wouldn't. I'd stick as a man.
Yeah, I'm just happy the way I am.
Yeah.
Everyone should be.
I think that about a lot of things in general. Yeah, not male or female, but I like look at someone like whatever successful, and I'm like, would I be them if I could like be them? I'm like, no, I probably wouldn't. So even for all my flaws and struggles, I'm like, 99% of cases, I'm like, no, I wouldn't choose to be him.
Would you be a woman for the day?
Oh yeah, for a day. Yeah,
Hell
for a
yeah.
day, of course, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not a lifetime. Not
What about a month going through that cycle?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe because
Yeah, maybe a
you could just about do anything for a month, right? Like get your head around it, like trialing something. Probably like do a month in the army or something. It'd suck, but I could probably do it.
That'd be a bit. All right.
All right.
Sick.
Well, maybe we end on
Good
that.
ramble.
End
We
on-
talk-
end
we
on
talk-
Be happy. Be
Don't
happy no
worry.
matter who you are, what race, color, age. Be
Don't
happy,
worry.
Be stoked.
As that black guy said, don't worry, be happy.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah.
yeah.
Peace
All
out,
right,
guys.
Peace out,
Peace.
guys.